At GLI Ventures, we are a Latam focused fund manager based out of Bogota, Colombia. And our primarily focus is to invest in business models that are trying to provide quality goods and services to people living in poverty. And basically because we want to address the inequality gap in the region and try to support solutions on that front. And when we started our first fund, which it was back in 2018, we had this ultimate goal, but then we started realizing that if we wanted to address poverty reduction in Latin America, we ultimately also needed to look at gender disparity and gender inequality because it's truly ingrained in the society and the population. And so since then, we started a process that it took us a while to integrate a gender lens across our investment thesis and our investment process. So at GLI Ventures, we now we are actually also a 2X global founding member, and we have incorporated a gender strategy as part of what we do. GLI was founded in 2018, initially with the support of Acumen, the global pioneer organization doing very early stage investing. Acumen play a pivotal role in getting GLI off the ground, being a kind of a sponsor. And since 2018, we've been investing. Our first fund is fully invested right now. We're having have a portfolio of very interesting companies, and we are right now also in the process of investing and fundraising for our second fund, which we already have first close early in the year. The investments that we do are primarily companies in which impact is front and center. We invest in companies in which the business model is addressing an inequality gap in the region. And we have also incorporated a particular thesis in which we truly believe that technology plays a very important role in terms of being an enabler to be able to access this underserved population with quality goods and services, also at affordable prices, and in a scalable way. One of the companies in which we invested is Simplifica. Simplifica is a Colombian company, founded by two Colombian entrepreneurs, Salwa and Omar, that is dedicated to provide an easy solution to formalize the domestic workers across the country, and now also expanding regionally. So basically in Latin America, around 60% of female employment is domestic workers. It's massive. But I think it's over 85% of them are informal, and in the informal economy, then subject to, they don't have access to healthcare, they don't have access to pension, they don't even have job contracts. So really working in difficult conditions. And this company is trying to provide and facilitate the formalization, which we believe also that in Latin America, access to a formal job is kind of a ticket out of poverty as well, because of the welfare that you get around that. So this is an example of a company that has a female entrepreneur as a CEO right now, that is addressing a huge inequality in the region, benefiting also in almost entirely a female population that works in underserved conditions. So this is when we're fundraising, our value proposition is twofold. So on one end is definitely we're trying to address inequality gap and supporting businesses that are lifting people out of poverty. But at the same time, that really creates also a very attractive business opportunity. Because what happens in Latin America is that the vast majority of the population have been underserved for decades, if not centuries. And so the businesses that we're trying to support are really trying to tap into, call it the traditional kind of blue oceans. Segments of the economy where there is no real competition, or the competitions are, like the long charge, or those providing services at outrageous conditions or prices. And so really the businesses that we support, that they are, very savvy in terms of finding a very efficient way to get to a new segment of the population that is not well attended. It's a win-win situation. Our first fund is Vintage 2018. It's a $30 million fund. We have our portfolio fully invested. And we feel fortunate that the portfolio is performing well. We built the entire portfolio at the end of 2021, and therefore last year we went to the market sort of with our second fund. I think globally, but particularly in Latin America, the last 18 months have been really tough, sort of in terms of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Latin America, 2020, 2021, there was an influx of capital that until some extent kind of created a bubble. And so the burst in 2022 created many challenges. Particularly sort of for fundraising has been a very tough environment, not only for the impact ecosystem, but really sort of for the venture and even more traditional sort of private ecosystem as a whole. Having said that, we had a first close of our second fund early in the year. We have already reached 42 million in commitments, with the expectation of continuing growing the fund sort of to a target of 80 million. We think we've been able sort of to achieve this success story because the strategy that we set out to do with our first fund is proving to be successful, both in terms of impact, but also in terms of growth story. The companies in which we have invested, as we discussed, are companies sort of that are tapping into new markets, sort of in markets that are highly underserved with very good quality and affordable products. Therefore, despite sort of the market downturn, despite sort of the challenges of the economy, spiking interest rates, inflation, and so on, so these businesses continue to grow because they are providing sort of essential services to a population that otherwise would not have access to them. And so the thesis, I think, is being validated. It's still early days for us, of course. Our portfolio is young. We still sort of need sort of to exit, but investors are trusting in and believing sort of in what we're executing. And that's why sort of we've been able sort of to grow our second fund and already sort of we started sort of to deploy capital in the efficient environment. Sure. So a gender lens for us means sort of that at every step of our investment process and our post-investment and management and value-add process, we include sort of a gender perspective into what we do. That means sort of that, when we're doing due diligence, when we're trying to understand sort of a particular company, their value chain, where they operate, we really sort of try to eliminate the implicit biases that we have, because for decades we've been raised sort of having implicit bias in terms of how the society works, in terms of the role of men and the role of women. And sort of with the support of external experts, we've been able sort of to train our team, train ourselves sort of in terms of understanding those bias, and therefore when we look at something, we try sort of to look at it from different perspectives, and then also to support our companies to also double click, look inside, and understand sort of what are the potential sort of gender inequalities that they have at their companies and at their value chain, both. And so this is really sort of taking a very conscious approach of opening sort of our minds, understanding what are the disparities, and then coming up with action plans, in time to bridge the gaps. That can be, things as, I think the widely discussed in terms of, having more equity in terms of female and male workforce, and which is, that's fine. But also that goes even far beyond in terms of on going, to product, understanding sort of how your product can be better shaped or better marketed or something, sort of to get to a different type of population, or to the female population, which are, key decision makers in the Latin American economy. So really I think it's kind of a holistic approach. There's no, like kind of one silver bullet or something that we say we only do this or that. It's just looking sort of at every step of the way, how we eliminate sort of gender biases, and work internally and with our portfolio and ecosystem, sort of to try to bridge them over time.